Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for our series, Katz Conversations, a monthly webinar where we take a deeper dive to get to know our Katz Institute for Women's Health experts on a more personal level. My name is Sharon Zarabi. I'm your host, and today I have the true honor of sitting with Dr. Amy West. Dr. Amy West is a sports medicine physiatrist. So I'm going to stop right there, Dr. West.
Yeah.
Explain
Yeah.
to the viewers what is it exactly that you do?
Yeah. So, I mean, in short, I'm a sports medicine doctor, kind of like an orthopedic surgeon, but I don't operate. So I'm not a surgeon, but I'm an orthopedic physician. So I treat musculoskeletal conditions without surgery. So that's kind of the main thing I do. My field that I specialize in is called physical medicine and rehabilitation, also known as physiatry. And basically what we do as a field in general is we evaluate and treat the musculoskeletal effects of disease processes. So, how disease affects you physically and how it affects your function. And we try to optimize those things. So it's a very small field in medicine. It's not very well known. So I spend a lot of my time explaining what it is that I do to many people.
Yeah, I think some might get confused with maybe a physical therapist.
Yeah, so we're not physical therapists. We are MDs or DOs, so went to medical school. So we're not physical therapists. We're not psychiatrists. We're not podiatrists. I've heard it all, but we're not physiologists. We're physiatrists. So I just say I'm a sports medicine doctor. That usually helps people kind of understand.
Okay, well, I think there's more accolades behind your name of just being a sports medicine doctor. I mean, while I was reading your biography, I was just so, as an athlete myself, and former fitness instructor and personal trainer, I have so much value for what you do to just treat the human frame, because we only have one body, and when it's injured, especially as an athlete, it almost affects your whole psyche. You are not only a physician at Northwell and with the Katz Institute for Women's Health, who specializes in female athletes, but you also are a sports injury whisperer, because you're very active in the CrossFit community, from what I read. And if I read correctly, are you also the sports medicine physician for the Hofstra Pride?
Yeah, so I'm one of the physicians for Hofstra University for their sports program. Yeah, so there are 4 of us that do that. Yeah.
And I assume, or maybe I shouldn't assume, are you an avid athlete yourself?
So I always have been. That's kind of how I got interested in this to begin with. But, these days I'm fairly competitive CrossFit athlete, competed at national competitions for that. I'm also an Olympic weightlifter, so I've competed nationally for that as well. So I continue to stay active in multiple ways. I'm always kind of hopping in like local sports leagues and things like that. So I take my CrossFit training fairly seriously. So I'm doing that when I'm not at work. I'm usually doing something related to that, or working at events with athletes, professional CrossFit athletes, as a doctor at those events. So I work at the CrossFit Games, and I've worked at the Adaptive CrossFit Games, working with adaptive athletes, and working at other big national competitions for that sport. So that's what I love doing. So I'm always involved in it in some respect.
That's awesome. And for some of those viewers who may not be athletic, can you explain how CrossFit is different than any other form of exercise? Like how do you define CrossFit workouts?
Yeah, well, I mean, CrossFit, how it's defined sort of methodology wise, is it's based in functional movements. So constantly varied, meaning, every day is a new set of exercises. Functional movements, meaning movements that you do every day in your life. So, things like squatting, which is not just squatting heavy barbells. It's like squatting to get on and off the toilet. That's a squat too. Or deadlifts. That's not just like a 500-pound deadlift. That's like bending over to pick something off the ground. So training movements like that are sort of that involve multiple joints, moving multiple parts of your body at the same time. Unlike, say, something like a bicep curl, which is very kind of non-functional. It's not something you do like very often just in isolation, but also it only involves like one joint, one body part. So function movement and high intensity. So these exercises are performed at relatively high intensity. And what that is for every person is different based on your level, but really kind of pushing your heart rate, trying to get the most out of your body in the shortest amount of time. Because as we all know, we don't have a lot of time. That's the one thing that people cite as the most common reason cited for not exercising is lack of time. So by increasing the intensity, you can get the same essentially the same effects in a short amount of time. So CrossFit kind of combines all of those things, elements of weightlifting, not just like have like actual weights, but lift just moving an external load, gymnastics, again, not like backflips, but more like just moving your own body weight, and endurance. So combining all of those things together into a class format that's easily digestible for people. So you can do it at a very basic level, or you can do it at some more advanced levels. And, so it's for everybody.
Yeah, thank you for clarifying that, because I think so much of what you said, functional movement, most people don't even understand the basic sitting on a toilet, standing up from a chair. We look at babies, and when you watch a baby who hasn't been affected or abusing its body from its day-to-day activity of carrying bags and sitting at a computer and hunching over, a baby literally, when they want to pick something up, they actually do a proper squat.
Yeah, babies have like perfect squat forms. So, and that's the thing. Functional movements are things that we're necessarily taught how to do. It's like how birds fly. No one really teaches them that. They sort of figure it out. So we're doing these things all day. So, and that's how people hurt themselves. So as a physician, that's what I see. It's very rarely that someone comes in, it's like some really cool story how they got injured. It's like, usually I was like putting something in the dishwasher and my back blew out, or I was picking up my kid and hurt myself. That's how people get injured. So, things like CrossFit, it's a way to train those movements on a day-to-day basis, because you're doing them anyway. So you might as well learn how to do them well, do them efficiently.
Okay, so clearly you are the expert in this field, and you practice what you preach. I'm going to get a little personal, if you don't mind me sharing. What is your weekly or daily workout routine?
Oh, geez. So for me personally, depending on if I have like a competition coming up or something, it might be a little bit more, a little bit less, but I'm usually in the gym probably every day for about an hour. I try to take one rest day in there. I'm doing like CrossFit training 6 times a week, and I might have an added Olympic weightlifting, which is more like a skill kind of thing, twice a week thrown in there to kind of just work on some very specific movements. But I'm there a lot because I choose to be. So I try to train every day if I can. Try to take one day rest day in there.
And as someone who's lifting heavy weights, you said Olympic sized bars. How do you nurse your own personal injury? I mean, it's so hard to tell an athlete will just rest or, stop working out.
Well, yeah, because I mean, I think that's sort of something I believe as far as when I'm either to myself or recommending to my patients. I try not to focus on what people can't do, but focus on what they can do. So, my recommendations are like, these are all the things you can do, and this is the thing you shouldn't do. This is the thing you should avoid. This is the thing you should change or scale such that you're not aggravating yourself. So it's very, very rarely that I will tell people to stop doing something. So if you're looking to get out of something, I'm not the person to see. But I mean, the one things about CrossFit is nice about it is that it's very scalable. So you can adjust workouts and things to your abilities, to your limitations. So, just because, if you have an injury on one arm doesn't mean you can't use the other one, doesn't mean your legs aren't working. So you can adjust it in any way and still get the same stimulus, but it might look a little different, compared to what you normally be doing. Something's better than nothing. Moving is better than not moving. So trying to do something, even if it's different than what I would normally be doing.
Okay, I love that. So we're not going from 100 to 0. You're meeting that patient halfway. And so, again, you're an athlete, which is what drove you to this field of physiatry. What drew you into sports?
Yeah, I'll say this. I originally went to school and I worked in television for a period of time. So I was a television producer and I worked in music shows, sports shows, and things like that. I was not necessarily medically minded when I was younger. I did end up getting a job as a surgical videographer. So working in a hospital, filming surgeries and making like instructional videos out of those. And that was sort of my first exposure to being inside the hospital and seeing what that was like. And then I sort of made a career switch. So I had to go back to school and kind of do science classes and things like that. So once I was in medical school, like I didn't know about physiatry. I'd never heard of it. And then there was a club, it was basically called the Lifestyle Medicine Interest Group. And it was about a bunch of students who were interested in like treating root cause problems of disease, and focusing on nutrition and exercise. And the leader of that group was a physiatrist. And I had never heard of it. So, and then I found out that physiatry has a whole kind of range of things that people can specialize in. So you might meet two physiatrists that do something totally different from each other. So I think that's another reason why people are confused about it, but also why it might not be so apparent to people. So, and one of the subspecialties within physiatry, sports medicine. So I knew I didn't want to be a surgeon. I don't have the stamina for that training. So I said, well, how can I still treat athletes and work with athletes and really focus on the musculoskeletal piece without doing surgery? And I like doing procedures like injections and things like that. So I do a fair amount of those now, but it seemed like a perfect fit. When I first discovered physiatry, it was actually at the same time, that I discovered CrossFit. So physiatry is based in function, CrossFit's based in function. I was like, wow, these two things go together really well. So I sort of got into both of those right around the same time. And I was doing a rotation as a med student at Spalding Hospital in Boston, which is where I did all my training through the Harvard system. So at that time, there were many patients that had been injured in the Boston Marathon bombings and had lost limbs who were doing their rehab there. And I really kind of got exposed to rehabilitation and training in special populations. And that was really interesting to me. And also seeing everyone got better. Everyone left better than when they came in. And I thought that was really, really nice thing, a nice field to be in, where everyone's kind of working hard all day and then they get better and they are achieving things and then they go on living their lives. So it's all about like quality of life and how to improve that. So that really appealed to me. And then now I get to work with athletes in that same realm. Kind of was a natural fit for me.
Yeah, wow. So you touched upon so many different things actually that embody the Katz Institute for Women's Health. You spoke about lifestyle medicine, and lifestyle medicine includes like everything that we do on a day-to-day basis. It's our stress management, it's sleep hygiene, it's the nutrition and the vitamins and the foods that we eat, it's the physical movement and exercise. So and we have specialists with the Katz Institute for Women's Health who specialize in lifestyle medicine, in nutrition, in the sports medicine aspect. So it's lovely that you just spoke about all of those different aspects of the treatment and care. So if you didn't go into the field of medicine, would you have pursued your passion in filming? Or
I worked in television and it was fun. The entertainment industry is not so much fun, but I certainly enjoyed the work, like editing and filming, and I think I still get to do some of that, kind of tap into those same neural circuits, when I'm doing talks and education, for the public or for other medical professionals. I still get to kind of create stories and visuals and present a story in a way that's digestible and entertaining to people. So I enjoy that. So in some respect, I would have been doing that in another way.
okay, love it. This is awesome. Again, I'm very passionate about everything you do. Thank you for treating all the athletes around us, because again, it's a mental game also, and our physical, our body isn't moving. It affects, the way we feel emotionally.
Yeah, I mean, the musculoskeletal system is the biggest organ system in our body, so it behooves us to take care of it. And it's not necessarily about, living longer. It's about living better and living well while you're here and making the most of it. So if you're not functioning physically, that's going to be difficult to do. So I'm biased, but I think, it's probably the most important thing to maintain is your movement and your ability to do that relatively pain-free.
So I think we should take away sports medicine physiatrist and just call you functional medicine doctor.
Yeah, that is actually a field of functional medicine. But yeah, so that's kind of what I try to focus on as much as I can.
Yeah, that's great. So we're going to take it to the second part of our series, and it's the rapid fire. So just share with us the first answer that comes to mind. I'm also trying to think of these questions, but the first one I'm going to ask you, because since we're talking about the topic of sports, what is your favorite sport to watch if you do view? Because it sounds like you like to participate more than view.
To watch, probably I'd have to say football. I like watching football. I'm one of those girls who likes to watch football. So,
all right.
Yeah.
And I assume when you're working out, are you listening to music? And if you do, what genre really gets you pumped up?
So in general, when I'm in class, like there's whatever's playing in the gym speakers. But if I'm by myself, I either put on a podcast or I like some aggressive like rap music. I need to get hyped up. So if I'm working out, that's what I got. That's what I have on if I'm working out.
Okay. Most indulging food or meal?
I mean, I'm a huge fan of anything chocolate chip. So
okay.
Whatever that is, whatever form that takes.
All right. And favorite place to travel when you get that time off?
Favorite place to travel. So I lived in London for a period of time. I was working for the BBC over there, and I love London. I was there for a while, so I would love to go back given the time.
All right. Well, hopefully you do get some time to yourself, because it sounds like you're spending so much time healing everyone around you.
Trying, yeah.
And Dr. West, before we close, do you have any other final remarks or words of wisdom that you'd like to share with our viewers?
I guess I'll go back to what I said before. Our bodies were made to move, and preserving that function is really imperative, because even though people will say, well, I don't play a sport, I'm not an athlete. But if you're moving your body, you are an athlete in a sense, right? Like, and being able to maintain that ability is super important. So, and when people tell you to not do things physically, then I would question it. Instead of telling me not to do it, tell me how to do it better. I think that's another kind of principle that I try to tell people, is like, you don't have to stop doing this thing, but maybe you do it in a different way. So I think it's important to maintain those things. And if you start to notice that you're not doing things you like doing because of pain or something like that, then that's something that needs to be addressed.
Okay, so pain should be your guide, and find something that you like to do that gives your body some physical movement.
Yeah, and if you have something you like to do and you can't do it right now, ask yourself if you're okay with that. And then, if you're not, then is there a way that you can get back to doing that in some form, even if it looks different than what it normally looks like?
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for sharing your expertise and personal pleasures. And thank you to all of our viewers for joining us today. And we hope to see you at our next Katz Conversations.